Why don't you finally start doing what you've been thinking about and considering for such a long time? Why are you still afraid to take steps on the path you already know will shape your future? What has ruined your dreams? Are you not ready to start? Are you waiting for confidence and the courage to begin to appear within you? The world isn't going to wait for you, so where's the problem? Many people see this as a problem of self-confidence, and that's why in this particular podcast episode we want to take some time to talk about it in detail. We've brought you a comprehensive summary of the well-known and influential book, The Confidence Gap, by the author Russ Harris, which contains some very interesting and thought-provoking points. Harris, in his book, shatters the illusion you live in, waiting for self-confidence to appear out of nowhere. We hope this discussion will help you understand the topic more deeply. He says you can't wait for self-confidence to come. You have to act first, and then self-confidence will follow. It's a flaw in our human system that we think we need to feel ready before doing anything. The reality is that readiness is nothing more than a mirage. It's a cruel joke that our evolutionary brain has created to keep us safe. But safety becomes a prison when it stops you from living. This is where the human paradox lies. People think they need to have self-confidence in order to take action. Whereas action is the only thing that builds self-confidence, Harris shatters this illogical thinking with an undeniable truth. He says if you wait until you feel ready, you might end up waiting forever. Think about all the things you've postponed just because you didn't feel ready. The book you never wrote, the business you never started. What did you actually gain in the end from what you lost? Regret, self-blame, and a pile of wasted potential. The world doesn't reward those individuals who simply wait around, hoping for the perfect emotional state to magically appear. Instead, the world rewards those people who bravely move forward, even in the face of uncertainty and fear. Those who choose to take decisive action even when every single cell in their body is screaming out, insisting that it's not the right time yet. Because in reality, that's still a lie. It's still the very same excuse that convinces you to cling tightly to that old, familiar, and tired version of yourself rather than embracing growth and change. Russ Harris says that mindfulness means not shutting off your thoughts. It means not letting your thoughts play games with you. And this is where most people make a mistake. They think negative thoughts are the enemy, something that must be eliminated in order to move forward. But that's impossible. Our brains have been shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of evolution for survival. For fear, our brains are wired for it. The brain is always looking for threats, whether real or imagined, because human ancestors who ignored dangers didn't live long enough to pass on their genes. The modern world may no longer have those giant sharp-toothed creatures competing with us, lurking in the shadows. That's why our minds still react as if every challenge is a deadly threat. The trick is not to fight against this negativity. Instead, you should distance yourself from it and observe your mind without obeying it. Meditation is one of the methods it suggests. It says this practice is about observing your own thoughts, labeling them for what they are, and letting your thoughts pass as they are. When you say, "I'm thinking that I'm not good enough," that small shift changes everything. You're no longer in the thought, you're the observer, and observers are free. Your brain is not your friend. At least not when it comes to courage. Hades proves it this way. She says your brain is a factory of fear, a machine that produces doubt as its default setting. And the reason is simple. Because our ancestors who took wild risks were eliminated from the gene pool. We are the descendants of the cautious, the doubters, and those who survived by imagining disaster before stepping outside. We tried to predict everything. This instinct helped us survive, but today it holds us back. This is a negative contradiction. The mind always highlights dangers, exaggerates the worst-case scenarios, and whispers in our ear that we're not ready. The mistake people make is that they believe this voice and identify with these thoughts. They assume that just because they think something, it must be true, so they don't take action. But that voice in our head telling us not to do something is just noise. It's a relic from our past, from our ancestors, and from our history. In the modern world, these thoughts should be our prisoners. We need to be aware of what we're thinking about. How can we break free from this prison? Harris introduces a concept called diffusion in his book. It means distancing yourself from your thoughts instead of getting completely entangled in them. His techniques are simple and effective. He says, first, pay attention to the thought. When you're thinking, say, aha. Do you doubt this? Yes, listen to what your thoughts are saying. Then separate yourself from them. Imagine them as just a bunch of words on a screen. Now read your thoughts on that screen. Here you are the observer of your thoughts. There's no goal to try to eliminate those thoughts. You need to see what they're saying so you can take away the power they have over you. One of Harris's favorite and meaningful suggestions is that when you notice what your thoughts are saying, thank them. Say, "Thank you, brain, I listened. Those were some interesting things." He says that even joking with yourself breaks the spell and reminds you that thoughts aren't necessarily commands you have to obey. You should notice them, see what your thoughts are saying, but act freely. Imagine that every scary thought in your mind is like a personal assistant who's just delivering a report on the anxieties inside you. You should see what it's saying. But since what it says isn't necessarily the truth, it shouldn't stop you from taking action. Harris thoughtfully challenges the conventional definition of success, which is so often equated with the accumulation of wealth, the attainment of power, and the constant pursuit of social approval. But what if instead success wasn't really about what you have or possess, but rather about who you are as a person? What if, instead of being solely about achieving specific goals, success was actually about living in alignment with your deepest values and your true self? What if? This is where the game-changing truth comes in. You can actually be successful right now, in this very moment, simply by acting in a way that truly aligns with your deepest principles like kindness, courage, and honesty. These aren't things you'll achieve someday. They're qualities you need to practice now. The world often tells you that success is something external, something you have to chase after. But that's just a mind game. The finish line in this game keeps moving further back every time you reach it because it keeps redefining success for you. A definition that's completely under the control of your mind. But you can bring it under your own control. Ask yourself, did you live according to your values today? If the answer is yes, congratulations. You've won. This is the real truth. Not instant success, not the mythical success they sell you in newspapers and on social media. It's success that's under your own control. Harris says, the moment your actions align with your values, you're always a winner. You don't need external validation, and you don't need to compare yourself to others. The idea of the book is to tell you that you don't need to wait for success. You don't need to achieve it first. You can have it right now, and by deciding who you want to be and acting accordingly, you can achieve it. That's it. That's the whole game of life. The only real failure is abandoning your values. Let's move on to blame, because our mind doesn't easily leave us alone. Even with all the knowledge and wisdom, we still have doubts. We still feel like something is missing. This is where Harris introduces the concept of fusion with negative thoughts, overly ambitious goals that feel overwhelming, avoiding discomfort, and straying from your values. In other words, every time you get stuck in fear, it's because you're caught in one of these states. That is, you're either moving away from your values or you've defined your goals incorrectly. The book mentions that the remedy is distancing yourself from your thoughts, accepting this discomfort, setting realistic goals, and embracing your values. Every time fear attacks you, you still have a choice. Whether you find yourself overwhelmed by fear or have the courage to make important decisions, accept discomfort. Truly understand your values and ultimately take action to change your path. If you want to grow, discomfort is non-negotiable. You have to accept it. Harris says you will never expand your life without stepping into the unknown, and entering the unknown is always uncomfortable. There's no way to escape it. But still, people waste their lives trying to find a way to grow without discomfort. He says such a thing doesn't exist. Every person we admire, every artist, entrepreneur, athlete, anyone has reached where they are by embracing discomfort. They didn't wait for fear to disappear. They jumped straight into the game of life. So the question isn't how to get rid of fear. The question is how to act and take steps despite fear. And the answer is this: you just have to do it. Not because it's easy, not because you have confidence, but because it aligns with your values. That's it. The courage to embrace discomfort is what stands between you and the life you want. Do you dare? Will you take it? You've been lied to about setting goals in life. Everywhere you look, you're told to think big, to have bigger dreams, to reach for the stars. And while that might sound a little inspiring, in reality, it crushes you under the weight of impossible expectations. This is modern society. You shouldn't listen to everything it says. Harris says that goals that are too big not only fail to motivate, but actually paralyze you. They become an insurmountable wall, so discouraging that you don't even start moving. The solution is to make your goals smaller, to turn them into something so ridiculously small that your brain can't come up with any excuse not to start. If you need to write a book, simply start with one sentence today. You don't have to write an entire chapter right from the beginning. The smaller the step you choose to take, the easier it is for you to actually take it, and the confidence to start comes to you much faster. Harris reduces life to two ruthless options. The first option is to only work when you feel like it. You let fear, doubt, and uncertainty guide you. You wait until you have confidence, motivation, and inspiration to start, and only then do you begin. He says that with this option, you're always waiting. The second option is to do what needs to be done. Regardless of whether you feel like it or not, you move forward, not because you're perfect, but because your values demand it of you. That's it. That's the whole game. Every successful person, every meaningful achievement, every moment of flourishing has happened because someone chose the second option. If you're still feeling stuck on the first option and really clinging to the fantasy that one day you'll feel ready, you're lying to yourself. That's the final point. Harris says feelings don't matter. Of course, not in the way you might think. You've been taught to believe that feelings should drive action, that you need to feel motivated before you start doing something. Harris says action comes first, always, and then the feelings follow. Confidence isn't something you have. It's something you gain through action. People assume that successful people were fearless, but that's not true. They had the same fears as you, but they took action despite them. That's the only real difference between those who create the life they want and those who don't, because the latter are still waiting to get started. Now that you've reached this point, there are no more excuses or waiting. There are no more lies. Now you know the truth. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you do. Fear will never leave you. Your mind will always give you doubts. But you are not your thoughts. You are not your fears. You are the person you choose to be every day, whether you feel like it or not. Always remember this. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't filled with time. It's filled with action. It's not just about waiting for days or years to pass. It's about what you do in that time. You either take that step forward, making real progress, or you'll be stuck in the same place, possibly forever. The choice is yours, so think carefully and choose wisely. And with that, we come to the end of our podcast. This was a summary of the book The Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. If you have any tips that have helped you in your life, write them in the comments so others can benefit from them too.